to go test this fairing out for the first time. I'm pretty sure it's going to do a pretty good job of blocking the wind. You know, I really just want it going above my head just a little bit. Even if it were to hit me like mid-helmet, I'd be fine. We opted for the 11-inch windshield instead of the 13. You know, the 13, this one would have went to right here. That probably wouldn't look too bad, but this 11-inch looks really cool. And we got the venting right here. So hopefully that really kind of mitigates some of that buffeting and stuff that could be caused by hitting that windshield. But let's get on this thing, let's try it out. I mean, even from behind the bars, this thing looks pretty good. It looks a lot beefier. As you can tell, I mean, this thing takes up a lot more real estate than that little quarter fairing did. And this thing still has that kind of, you know, sport club look to it. So, I mean, you're not losing any kind of styling with this thing. Honestly, I think it makes it look even better because it fills the bike out a little bit more. It doesn't make it feel so, I guess, small of a bike. It really adds to the aesthetics as a whole. So far, it hasn't been too bad. I mean, I know we're not on the interstate or anything, but I can still feel some wind. I mean, obviously this is a pretty small bike, but I can't tell if it's just because it's catching from the wind coming across the handlebars and stuff. It definitely feels like a cross breeze is hitting me right now. But I don't really feel that much on my chest. I mean, I'm grabbing my coat right now, and it doesn't feel like my chest has that much air on it. Honestly, it makes me feel more on my legs and stuff now because I'm not feeling that much on my chest. So it makes you think about the places that are getting hit with wind now because your chest isn't. God, this bike just flies, guys. And we've done a lot to this bike. This fairing's just, you know, another addition we're kind of adding on to this thing. Honestly, I feel like I dump at least $300 to $400 a month into this bike just on add-ons and stuff, which is cool. I mean, you should take pride in your bike and build that thing up, even though it is costly at times. I mean, it really adds to you enjoying the bike because you got that pride in it. Yeah, honestly, I don't feel a lot on my chest. I mean, honestly, there's a little bit of a cross breeze. I think it's hitting me almost in the forehead, the way it's right now. And I do have my full face on right now just because I need it for the microphone setup. But I'm going to try this with my half helmet on. I won't be able to get mic'd up and everything because it won't work as well. But, you know, I'll kind of give some feedback on how well that performs. And honestly, if this 11-inch doesn't work, I mean, you can always throw a 13 on there and it's not going to look that much different. It's only 2-inch difference. And I mean, it's not going to look that much different overall aesthetically. But I will say, it feels a little bit more comfortable to ride this bike. It just kind of cuts through the wind a little bit more. I can feel the air buffeting through those vents. Let's talk about how well this thing is constructed. The plastic is super lightweight, but the plastic is very rigid. It's very thick plastic, it's rigid, and if you bolt this thing down the right way and you get it locked in, there's no vibrations. I mean, this thing right here, this thing is just as solid as the one that came on the Rogue. I can't tell much of a difference between this fairing and the rigidity on the one that came on it. they're both just really solid. I mean, the one that came on this bike, on the Rogue stock fairing, I mean, that thing is solid. And it weighs a lot more than this one. So, I mean, you're lightening the front end up a little bit too with this setup. I mean, overall, I've paid $514 for this fairing. And, you know, hopefully this is a good investment. We're gonna have to wait a little bit before we get it out on the interstate. I just didn't have time today to kind of get this thing out. But we got it up to about, we can get this thing up to about 60. I mean, honestly, it's gonna make it to where you can ride this thing longer distances because the wind's not beating you up as bad. But I mean, hey, people go out there with their Scout bobbers, you know, Harleys with no fairings, and they just tear up the road. So I mean, all in all, you don't need this thing. It's just kind of there for aesthetics and a little bit of functionality. But that's not to say you need a fairing to go out there on the roads. That's just not it. People ride with no fairings all the time and go out there and love the open road. That's 75 right there, and it doesn't feel that bad. I mean, like I said earlier, it makes you definitely feel everything else on the bike though, because it relieves your upper body from getting that wind. Believe me, it makes me feel like my feet are about to get ripped off these pegs. It's just a beautiful evening to go out and ride, even though it is a little windy. And that's another thing, it's kind of not a true testament to what this fairing could do, even if it could do a lot more. Yeah, I'm trying to, okay, I'm gonna use my hand as a reference point. So right here, I feel nothing. I can start to feel it right here, and then right there, I can really feel the draft taking me up. So I haven't done anything to this fairing. I haven't adjusted it any. I haven't tilted it back, because I watched a couple videos and they were talking about the tilt really affects how it projects the air off of you. So with that in mind, I think more vertical like it is now is going to be the best for projecting that wind straight up and over my head, which it seems like it's doing pretty well. I'm not going to say it's not doing it at all, but I don't think we're going to move it. I mean, I might test it out and tilt it back just a hair, but I think we're going to pretty much leave it where it's at in the position. Let's test to the sides here. All right, so right here I don't feel anything, then right there it starts to snag my glove a little bit, and then right there I can feel it. So my body is like right on the sides of the fairing, so it blocks the air off of your upper half. So I mean, it's doing its job. This thing is 19 inches wide, so I don't think my body's 19 inches wide at my, you know, my chest area. My shoulders, I can definitely feel it, because it's a little bit wider than 19 inches, but around my waist, chest area, I think we're good. It just kind of snags on my upper shoulders. Guys, I can't complain too much about this fairing. Pretty solid, $514 overall. Honestly, my biggest complaint with this whole thing was trying to get these little clips lined up with the brackets. I mean, that was kind of a pain in the butt, but once they're in, I mean, they're in. I did take this off. If you caught it in the install video, I never went back and tightened up some of the inside bolts for the fairing, holding the brackets to the fairing. I took it off. I retightened those because I forgot initially to do it in the video. So don't hound me in the comments for, oh, he never went and retorqued everything down. Well, I did off camera, but if you haven't checked out that video, please do. I break down some of the issues I had with installing this thing. There wasn't too many. And then another thing you need to be aware of is if you go to order one of these off of Memphis Shades website, you're gonna have to piece it together. They don't make it a one-stop shop for ordering like I think they ought to. honestly, when you pull up the Road Warrior fairing for whatever bike you're trying to get it for, it should just give you the options. Like if you want the bracket kit, if you want the headlight extension block, if you want the turn signal relocation kit, it should all be on that same page, just drop down menus. But they don't do that. You have to go shop separately for the windshield. You have to go shop separately for just about everything else. Turn signal relocation, I think the rest was on the page. But it honestly shouldn't be that way, because if they're trying to make it easy for the customer, I could imagine a customer that's never watched some YouTube videos, because I did my research before I ordered this kit. That way I didn't, you know, end up shit out of luck because I didn't order one of the components or something. I definitely tried to make sure I had everything. But I could imagine there's a lot of customers that go out there and they order just the fairing expecting the kit to be in there, or they get the kit and they end up not having the turn signal relocation, so they can't even ride their bike until they get all of it installed. That, or they don't get an extension block, whatever it may be. But just know that you have to get all those components separate, because they don't make it a one-stop shop. So just FYI on that one. But guys, we're going to do a third video to this series, a little third part, and we're going to do that on the interstate. So you're going to have to check that out in a future video. So part 1 being the install, part 2 being this quick little ride where we did get up to probably 70, 75. But that's not saying out on the open interstate, trucks going by and stuff like that, this thing's going to perform probably a little bit different. Even though I did have a lot of crosswind and stuff like that, it's just going to perform a little bit different. So we'll do a part 3 where we take it on the interstate, get up to probably 80, maybe even 90 a little bit, and see what the buffeting looks like. But honestly, not too much buffeting overall. I mean, I honestly expected a little bit worse, because with the normal fairing, granted it's a lot smaller, it's like a cafe style fairing that comes on the Rogue. It doesn't do a damn thing when it comes to blocking wind. It's just the fact of it. Yeah, it just doesn't do anything as far as blocking wind. So this right here looks good, and it's actually functional. The Rogue fairing is not functional. It's literally a cafe fairing. I mean, it looks cool as hell though. I will say the stock Rogue fairing looks good. It just doesn't do shit. And this fairing it's deeper. It covers more of your front forks. So it looks good too. I mean, it makes it look lower, meaner. It's blacked out. And I will say, I didn't mention it in any other video, but this is black metallic paint that I have on the Indian Rogue. And it's just a regular black paint on the fairing, but it matches just perfect. I mean, I couldn't honestly imagine it being that good of a color match. Alright guys, so hopefully you like this video of us going out and testing out this Road Warrior fairing. I mean, overall, this thing was pretty good. I mean, for the amount of money you pay for it, there's more expensive ones out there. I thought it was pretty good. Alright guys, like and subscribe. We'll catch you in future videos.